The lights dim, the crowd murmurs, and the tension in the room is palpable. On one side, you have Karoline Leavitt, a rising star in politics, known for her sharp wit, quick comebacks, and unapologetic stance. On the other, Robert De Niro, an icon of Hollywood, a man whose legacy has been built on being untouchable, a titan who has never been challenged, at least not like this. Karoline Leavitt, sitting confidently in her chair, eyes steady, never wavering. "I'm sorry, Robert, but your generation has had its time. It's time for real change. For the people who are actually living in the world you've helped create. You don't get to hold us back any longer." Camera. Close-up. Robert De Niro, visibly shocked, his jaw clenched, the rage in his eyes burning through the lens. He is used to being revered, even adored. But tonight, something different is happening. His usual composure is slipping. The audience waits for his reply. Will he back down? Or will he lash out? Robert De Niro. His voice tightens, but his anger is undeniable. "You don't know what you're talking about, Karoline. I've been in this game for decades, seen the world change, and let me tell you, it's not as simple as you think. The tension builds to a breaking point. The viral moment. The moment everyone will be talking about." Karoline's words are sharp, cutting through the very air that Robert De Niro breathes. Karoline Leavitt. "Maybe you should step aside, Robert. The world is moving on without you. And frankly, it's about time." Intense music climaxes. The crowd gasps. The world is watching. This isn't just a political debate anymore. This is about power, respect, and the changing of an era. Karoline has just thrown down the gauntlet. And Robert? He's furious. Screen text. What happens next will go down in history. The tables are about to turn. But at what cost? The studio is still buzzing from the tense exchange. Karoline Leavitt stands tall, unwavering. But behind her composure, a storm is brewing. No one had expected her to speak so boldly. Especially not against someone like Robert De Niro, a young upstart politician challenging a Hollywood legend. To many it seems ludicrous. She's young, brash, and most importantly, unpolished. The backstage crew murmurs among themselves, exchanging looks of disbelief. Stage director, whispering to an assistant, "Who does she think she is?" Challenging. "Him like that? She's just a rookie." Assistant shrugs. "She's getting a lot of attention, though. Maybe she knows what she's doing." But the crowd's reaction is divided. While some cheer for Karoline's fearless words, others dismiss her as naive. They expect De Niro to wipe the floor with her, to show her what real power and experience look like. After all, he's been revered for decades. But Karoline has never been one to play by the rules. Robert De Niro, sitting back in his chair, visibly stewing in anger, his face, usually calm and collected, now betrays his annoyance. His hand grips the armrest tightly, knuckles white. He's not used to being questioned, let alone being publicly humiliated by someone half his age. Robert De Niro, smirking. "You think you know better than me, huh? I've been in the room with presidents, kings, real power. You're just a kid with a microphone." The audience falls silent, waiting for Karoline to respond. It's a classic power move. Robert De Niro, world-renowned iconic, dismissing Karoline as a nobody in comparison. To him, she's just another ambitious politician trying to make a name. But he's wrong. Karoline's got more in her than anyone realizes. Karoline's eyes narrow slightly, but her expression remains controlled. Inside, though, she's seething. She knows exactly what's happening. The world is trying to push her down, dismiss her as unimportant. But this isn't the first time. She's been underestimated. It won't be the last. Karoline Leavitt, under her breath to herself. Keep underestimating me. It'll be your biggest mistake. But on the outside, she stays calm. She knows that it's not enough just to fight back. She has to outsmart them. Back to the studio. The host, trying to diffuse the tension, jumps in. But the damage is done. Karoline has been publicly dismissed by a man who sees himself as untouchable. And that is the moment when the power dynamics truly begin to shift. Host, laughing nervously. Well, that was, something. Robert, Karoline, this is clearly a heated debate. But let's keep things civil, shall we? Karoline Leavitt, firmly addressing the host. I'm not here to be civil, I'm here to speak the truth. And if the truth makes people uncomfortable, then maybe it's time they start listening. Robert's eyes narrow even further, the disdain clear on his face. The camera captures the moment, and the online chatter begins to explode. The crowd can feel the shift, but it's still unclear who will win this battle of wills. The moment Karoline dared to challenge Robert De Niro, the power struggle shifted, but it wasn't over, far from it. Robert, still fuming from the exchange, begins to leverage his influence, pulling every string he can to reassert his dominance. What started as a simple disagreement now becomes a battle for respect, a game of chess played on the public stage. The cameras zoom in on Robert, his icy demeanor now replacing any semblance of his earlier charm. Behind the scenes, his team works overtime to put pressure on Karoline, hoping to break her. Robert De Niro, to his manager quietly. Get her off the show. We need to make sure she knows who's in charge here. I'm not going to let some rookie make a mockery of me on national television. His manager nods, already picking up the phone. Robert, once the untouchable king of Hollywood, now feels his throne being threatened by this ambitious politician. He cannot tolerate being undermined. He's used to running the show, not being questioned by someone so unpolished, so new to the game. Karoline is in her dressing room, flipping through notes for her next speech. She knows what's coming. She can feel it in the air. The tension is thick, and it's clear. Robert will use every tool at his disposal to bury her. But Karoline is not someone who backs down easily. This is a moment she's been preparing for her whole life. Karoline Leavitt, whispering to herself with resolve. Make it personal. Push me to the edge. You'll regret it. Meanwhile, the pressure is mounting. Robert's team launches a campaign to discredit her. Social media accounts are flooded with memes, snide comments, and attacks on her youth, her background, her competence. De Niro's allies in Hollywood and the media are quick to follow suit. They paint Karoline as a fool, someone who doesn't belong in this arena. A reporter on TV speaking about Karoline's recent remarks with thinly veiled mockery. Reporter. Karoline Leavitt, this young politician, seems to think she can go toe-to-toe with a living legend. But let's be honest, folks, she's way out of her league. She's just another ambitious voice looking for attention. Karoline watches the report in her office, her jaw tightening. It's clear, De Niro's influence is stretching far beyond the studio. This is bigger than just a heated debate. It's an all-out campaign to crush her before she has a chance to rise, but the deeper the attacks get, the more they reveal De Niro's true character. He's afraid of being overshadowed by someone he sees as a mere upstart. But Karoline can feel the fear in his movements, even if he's careful to mask it with arrogance. Karoline Leavitt, under her breath as she watches the news. This won't break me. You're not dealing with a rookie anymore. Karoline's supporters are growing stronger, but so are her enemies. De Niro's smear campaign seems to be working, but Karoline is gaining momentum, using the attacks as fuel for her fire. She won't be silenced, no matter how far Robert pushes. A meeting between Karoline and her closest allies. She's speaking quietly, but with authority, outlining her next steps. Karoline Leavitt. Let him push. Let him try to crush me. It'll only make the final takedown that much sweeter. The day of the live interview arrives, and the stage is set for a showdown. Karoline walks in, her head held high, knowing full well the immense pressure she's under. It's not just a TV appearance anymore. This is a battle for her reputation, her future, and her very integrity. As the cameras roll, Robert De Niro takes his seat with a smug smile. He's dressed in his usual tailored suit, confident in his position. The lights flash as the host introduces the segment, and the audience watches intently. But beneath the surface, something darker is unfolding. Host, smiling, speaking to the audience. Today we have a very special episode, a face-off between two strong personalities, Karoline Leavitt, the rising political star, and Robert De Niro, the legendary actor and activist. Let's see where this conversation goes. Karoline takes a deep breath, adjusting her notes. The world is watching. This is the moment she's been preparing for. But as she looks over at Robert, she can already feel the weight of his silent judgment. The interview begins innocently. Enough. But Robert's underlying hostility is clear. He interrupts her repeatedly, questioning her experience, her qualifications, and her decisions in a dismissive tone. The audience watches as Karoline tries to stay composed, but it's clear Robert isn't just debating her. He's trying to humiliate her. Robert De Niro, smirking, cutting her off. You know, Karoline, you really think you can change the system? You're just a kid trying to play in a grown-up world. You don't have the experience to understand how things really work. Karoline tries to respond, but Robert barrels over her, his voice dripping with condescension. His dismissiveness grows sharper, like a knife aimed at her credibility. Every word he speaks is calculated to tear her down in front of the audience. Karoline Leavitt, holding her composure, but her voice shaking slightly. I know the challenges we face, Robert. I've seen it firsthand, and I'm here to make a difference, not just to talk about it. But Robert isn't done. He turns up the pressure, digging deeper into her personal life, questioning her values and motivations in a way that feels like an attack, not a discussion. Robert De Niro, mocking. Louder now. Make a difference? You can barely hold a press conference without looking out of your depth. Tell me, Karoline, what's your real agenda? Are you in this for power, or is this just a stepping stone for your career? The audience murmurs, some in support of Karoline, but many others laughing at Robert's jabs. The spotlight is squarely on her now. She feels the weight of their gaze, the pressure mounting. It's more than just a conversation. It's an interrogation, a public execution of her character. Karoline tries to keep it together. But in this moment, with Robert's words cutting deeper than any physical blow, she can feel herself faltering. The humiliation is unbearable. Karoline Leavitt, softly, barely audible to herself. Don't break. Don't break. She holds it together just long enough to fire back, but the damage is done. Her voice cracks, betraying the raw emotion underneath. Karoline Leavitt, voice rising, fighting to stay calm. I may not have your years of experience, Robert, but I have something you don't, conviction, and I'm not going to let you or anyone else take that from me. But as the interview continues, the damage to her public image is clear. Robert has won the battle, at least in the eyes of the audience. He leaves the studio with his smug smile intact, while Karoline is left to pick up the pieces of her dignity, now shattered in front of millions of viewers. Back in the dressing room, Karoline stares at her reflection in the mirror. She's lost something in this battle, something she can't easily reclaim. The public humiliation stings, but what hurts even more is the feeling of betrayal. Robert didn't just attack her ideas, he attacked who she was. As the tears threaten to spill, she wipes them away. This isn't over, not by a long shot. Days have passed since the humiliating live interview, but Karoline's struggle is far from over. She knows she has to come out swinging if she's ever going to recover from the damage to her reputation. The press is relentless, and Robert De Niro's smirk lingers in her mind like a shadow. But in the quiet moments, something unexpected happens. Karoline receives a message, a cryptic text from an anonymous source. It's a set of documents containing information that could change everything. At first, she hesitates. Is this real? Could this be another trap? But the curiosity is too strong, and she dives in, desperate for a way out. The documents reveal a truth that shakes her to the core. Robert De Niro has been using his influence to manipulate the media, to silence voices that challenge his political views. It's not just his celebrity power, it's his behind-the-scenes tactics that have kept him untouchable. And more shockingly, Karoline learns that Robert had been actively working against her campaign, using his resources to undermine her every step of the way. Karoline Leavitt, reading the documents, her eyes widening. This is it. This is how he's been doing it, all along. She leans back in her chair, the weight of the discovery sinking in. For the first time since the interview, Karoline feels a spark of hope. This isn't just about politics anymore. This is about justice, about exposing the truth. She realizes that everything Robert has said and done to her was part of a much larger game, a game in which he thought he was invincible. But now, she holds the cards. Karoline, her resolve hardening, begins to strategize. She reaches out to her closest allies, the ones she knows she can trust. It's time to plan her next move. She knows she's not going to win this fight on her own. She'll need to outsmart Robert, expose his hypocrisy, and take him down in a way he never saw coming. Karoline Leavitt, on the phone, determined. We have everything we need. It's time to show the world who Robert De Niro really is. Montage: Karoline meeting with her team, sifting through documents and making phone calls, a news station investigating the claims, sources being contacted, the public beginning to whisper about Robert's dirty tactics, his manipulation becoming clear. Karoline, now more confident, preparing for the next big moment. The pieces are coming together. Karoline knows that this isn't just about clearing her name, it's about standing up for the truth and taking down someone who thought they could use their power to control the narrative. She's no longer the underdog. She's the force the world didn't see coming. Karoline Leavitt, smirking to herself. You should have never underestimated me. Karoline watches as the first signs of the truth begin to surface. The media is starting to pick up the story, and the momentum is shifting. It's only a matter of time before Robert's carefully constructed empire of lies comes crashing down. The world is watching as Karoline Leavitt's story begins to unfold. The truth she uncovered about Robert De Niro's underhanded tactics is no longer a whisper in the shadows. It's out in the open, and the media can't ignore it. News outlets are calling her, eager to hear her side of the story, but she knows she must remain strategic. She can't just spill everything at once. This is a chess game, and Karoline has to play her moves carefully. Karoline in front of a camera, speaking calmly and confidently. The pressure is high, but her resolve is unshakable. Every word she speaks is calculated, designed to hit Robert where it hurts. Karoline Leavitt, to the camera, controlled. We now know that the man who claims to be a voice for the people has been using his platform for personal gain, manipulating the very media he pretends to champion. Her words hit hard, and the impact is immediate. Social media explodes with posts, comments, and shares. People are starting to see Robert for what he really is. A man who used his fame and power to silence voices that didn't agree with him. The news outlets are buzzing, and Robert can't ignore the backlash anymore. But he's not ready to fold just yet. In fact, he's getting angrier. He didn't expect this fight to go beyond their interview, but now it's personal. His team begins spinning the narrative, trying to discredit Karoline's claims, calling her a bitter politician trying to stir controversy. They paint her as a naive upstart who doesn't understand the way the world works. Robert, visibly furious, in a private meeting with his PR team. His frustration is palpable. The media onslaught is real, and the public's opinion is beginning to shift. But Robert still believes he can control the narrative. He has money, influence, and a loyal following. Robert De Niro, slamming his fist on the table. Don't let her win. We need to crush her. She doesn't have the power to take me down. This is just another smear campaign. Make them believe it. He refuses to acknowledge the growing truth. Robert believes that his empire is too strong to be toppled by a nobody like Karoline. He launches a counteroffensive, pulling all the strings he can, using media outlets, politicians, and anyone he can leverage to discredit her. Karoline's sitting in her office, watching the storm unfold on her phone. The media is fighting back, hard, painting her as a troublemaker, someone who's trying to tear down a beloved Hollywood icon. The tide is turning against her again, but she doesn't back down. She knows that if she can keep her focus, the truth will eventually win. Karoline takes a deep breath and sends a message to her closest allies, confirming that the next phase of their plan is in motion. It's time to keep pushing, no matter how hard Robert fights back. Karoline Leavitt, to herself, steely determination in her voice. They think they can silence me. They've only made me stronger. A montage of Karoline attending rallies, speaking to the media, and meeting with key political figures. Slowly, but surely the momentum shifts. Her supporters grow in numbers, and Robert's attacks begin to lose their sting. People are waking up to the reality of the power imbalance between them. It's clear. Karoline's fight is far from over, but she's no longer the underdog. She's gaining ground, and Robert's empire is starting to show cracks. The power is shifting piece by piece. The tension in the air is palpable. Robert De Niro's carefully constructed world of influence is crumbling. The media, once under his thumb, is now questioning his every move. Karoline Leavitt, once a voice on the sidelines, has become a force to be reckoned with. Her rise has been swift, and her words have shaken the very foundation of Robert's empire. A high-stakes live TV debate. Karoline is sitting across from Robert, her composure unshaken. The audience knows this is the moment when the showdown is inevitable. The stage is set, the stakes are at their highest, and the cameras are rolling. Robert, visibly shaken by the mounting pressure, tries to regain control of the situation. His once unstoppable confidence has been replaced by a thin veneer of arrogance, masking the panic underneath. Robert De Niro, smiling, but there's a twitch of discomfort in his eyes. You know, Karoline, I've dealt with far worse than you. What you're doing here, this exposure of mine, it's just a smear campaign, a desperate attempt to stay relevant. Karoline Leavitt, calm but unwavering. You know, Robert, the only smear here is the one you've been hiding behind. For years. You've made a career of using people, manipulating the truth and twisting narratives for your own gain. But the world's not buying it anymore. The audience gasps, the words hitting Robert like a punch to the gut. He tries to remain collected, but the cracks are showing. His responses grow sharper, more defensive. Robert De Niro, snarling. You think you can just come in here and take down everything I've worked for? I've built my legacy, Karoline. You're nothing compared to me. You don't have what it takes. Karoline Leavitt, leaning in, eyes locked on him. You built your legacy on lies, Robert, and I'm not the one who's going to let you get away with it anymore. The words echo in the studio, the tension rising. Robert's once unshakable demeanor is now cracking at the seams. Karoline's calm, measured confidence has completely unsettled him. She's no longer the victim of his manipulation. She's his equal, and she's not backing down. The audience watches, transfixed. Karoline continues, her voice cutting through the air like a blade. Karoline Leavitt, with fierce conviction. You've used your power for too long to silence those who dare to speak out against you. But what you don't realize is that your power is built on a lie, and lies don't last forever. The camera zooms in on Robert's face, his jaw tightening as his anger begins to boil over. He stands up abruptly, knocking over his microphone. The studio is silent, every eye fixed on the two of them. This is it, the breaking point. Robert De Niro, furious, voice shaking. You think you're the first to challenge me? I'm Robert. De Niro, you're nothing! Karoline stands up slowly, her body language defiant, unyielding. There's no fear in her eyes. She knows this is the moment that will define her. Karoline Leavitt, with cold finality. Actually, Robert, I'm not the first, but I'm the one who's going to finish this. The words hit hard. The tension in the room is almost unbearable. Robert is no longer in control. Karoline is. The audience erupts into applause, their cheers filling the air. Karoline's words have resonated. For the first time in years, Robert feels truly vulnerable, and he knows it. The confrontation has peaked. Karoline has not only held her ground, but delivered the fatal blow to Robert's confidence. The world is watching, and they've seen who the real power is. The entire studio falls into a thick, oppressive silence. Robert De Niro is no longer the towering figure he once was. The smug confidence, the years of untouchable arrogance, all of it has crumbled in a matter of moments. Karoline Leavitt has exposed him for what he truly is, a man hiding behind a facade of power and privilege. Now, it's time for the reckoning. The live TV audience, who once idolized Robert, now watches with growing disgust. Cameras capture every uncomfortable shift in Robert's posture, his failed attempts to regain composure. The anger in his eyes is undeniable, but so is the dawning realization that his empire is collapsing. Karoline Leavitt, standing firm, unwavering. You wanted to silence me, Robert. You wanted to break me down, make me a footnote in your world of privilege. But you made a fatal mistake. Her words sting like daggers, each one cutting deeper than the last. She pauses, letting the gravity of the moment sink in. The audience waits with bated breath, knowing this is the moment they've been waiting for. Karoline Leavitt, with controlled power. I'm not here for your apology. I'm not here for your empty words. You've made your bed, and now it's time to lie in it. Robert's face flushes with a mixture of rage and humiliation. He's been cornered in front of the world, and there's nowhere left to hide. The cameras zoom in on his twitching hands, his clenched jaw. He's losing it. He knows he's finished. Robert De Niro, voice trembling, trying to regain control. You don't know what you're talking about. You think you can destroy me with these lies? Karoline's calm demeanor contrasts sharply with his frenzied anger. She steps closer, her voice cool but laced with finality. Karoline Leavitt, with steely conviction. You didn't destroy me, Robert. You never could. You're just a man who has run out of lies. The live broadcast continues, but this time, the power dynamic has completely shifted. The cameras capture Robert's desperation as he tries to gather his thoughts, but it's too late. The damage has been done. Karoline's words have already reverberated through the hearts and minds of everyone watching. The news outlets begin to pick up the story. The headlines are unforgiving. Robert De Niro's explosive meltdown on live TV dominates every screen, as clips of his humiliating moment spread across social media faster than wildfire. The world is watching as the man once known for his unshakable power faces the consequences of his actions. A flood of social media posts, tweets, and memes explode online. People everywhere are celebrating Karoline's triumph, applauding her for taking down the untouchable. Her hashtag, #LeavittJustice, trends globally. The public has spoken, and they've made their choice. Robert De Niro's career, once a symbol of unassailable success, is now in freefall. The deals dry up, the endorsements vanish. And as the tide of public opinion turns, even his most loyal allies begin to distance themselves. In a dimly lit office, Robert sits in front of a wall of TV screens, each showing the fallout of his live TV meltdown. His once pristine reputation is now shattered beyond repair. He's a man alone, no longer the king of the silver screen, but a relic of a bygone era, Robert De Niro, whispering to himself broken. How did it all go so wrong? His voice cracks, the weight of his fall finally crashing down on him. Karoline Leavitt, now standing on top of the mountain she's climbed. The world is cheering her on, and she's done what no one thought possible. She's brought down one of the most powerful men in the entertainment industry, not with brute force, but with truth. The tide has turned, and justice has been served. The world has watched the downfall of Robert De Niro, but now the consequences are set in motion. With every passing day, his empire crumbles further. The very institutions that once clamored to work with him are now withdrawing, distancing themselves from a man who just a few weeks ago was untouchable. A series of closed doors. Agents, lawyers, executives, once loyal to Robert, now quietly sever ties, leaving him to face the storm alone. The phone calls he once eagerly awaited now go unanswered. The phone lines are silent. The inbox, once flooded with opportunities, is now empty. The public's eye is unforgiving. Everywhere he looks, Robert sees the fallout. The viral footage of his meltdown plays on repeat, each replaying scene making the humiliation sink deeper. In the midst of this chaos, Karoline Leavitt steps back, a moment of calm amidst the storm. She's standing at a podium, not in front of cameras, but with a room of allies, those who stood by her through it all. The world may have cheered her victory over Robert, but the victory wasn't just about taking him down. It was about regaining what had been taken from her, her dignity, her strength, her voice. Karoline Leavitt, with quiet confidence. They thought they could break me, silence me, but they didn't count on one thing. The truth always has its way of coming out. Her words resonate, echoing the sentiment of millions. Karoline's rise isn't just a personal victory. It's a testament to what happens when the powerless stand up against the powerful. It's about showing the world that no matter how high someone climbs, they can fall just as hard. News footage of Robert De Niro's public appearances becomes increasingly rare. There are no more interviews, no more performances. He's no longer a cultural icon, but a cautionary tale. His days of making headlines for his craft have been replaced with headlines detailing his disgrace. A more intimate scene unfolds in Karoline's life. She's surrounded by friends, her closest allies. There's no fanfare, no cameras flashing in her face, just the quiet satisfaction of knowing she's done what was right. She's regained her dignity and, in doing so, restored the faith of those who once doubted her. One of her supporters, a seasoned journalist who had closely followed her journey, speaks up, the pride in his voice clear. Journalist, smiling warmly. You've changed the game, Karoline. You've shown the world that no one is above the truth. Karoline nods, her eyes focused. She's not interested in the adulation or praise. Her victory wasn't about making a name for herself. It was about justice, about ensuring that no one, no matter how powerful, can escape the consequences of their actions. The cameras flash one last time, and Karoline steps out into the spotlight. Not as the woman who took down a giant, but as the woman who did the right thing, no matter the cost. Karoline Leavitt, with quiet resolve. I didn't do this for the fame. I didn't do this for the applause. I did it because it was the right thing to do. The world has witnessed Karoline's rise. They've watched as the once untouchable giant fell and as the quiet power of truth emerged victorious. The echoes of her victory still resonate, not just in the headlines, but in the hearts of those who had long been silenced, those who never had a voice. Karoline standing in front of a large, reflective window, her gaze focused on the world outside. The chaos of her battle may have settled, but the stillness of the aftermath is what she now faces. Her journey, though victorious, isn't without its scars. She's been tested in ways she could never have predicted. The weight of her decisions, the choices she had to make, will stay with her. But there's a certain peace in that reflection. Karoline knows the battle was necessary. It wasn't about the personal accolades, nor was it about taking down an iconic figure. It was about standing for something greater, the undeniable truth that power, when abused, must be confronted. Karoline. Leavitt softly, almost to herself. Sometimes the fight isn't about what you win, but about what you stand for. She pauses, reflecting on everything she's lost and gained. In the end, it wasn't about the scandal. It wasn't about the viral clips or the immediate fame. It was about breaking a cycle where the powerful could do whatever they wished, unchecked, leaving the truth buried beneath their influence. She wasn't just fighting for herself. She was fighting for every voice that had been silenced by systems of power. Footage of people all over the world sharing her story. A movement ignited in the wake of her courage. Karoline's actions have sparked a wave of conversations about accountability, about what it means to stand up against the tide, and about the price of doing the right thing. Karoline Leavitt, voiceover with a tone of quiet strength. Sometimes, it feels like the world is stacked against you. But when you stand firm, when you believe in something greater than yourself, that's when the world begins to listen. The camera pulls back, Karoline fading into the distance as the world moves forward. The scene lingers, allowing the audience to reflect on the deeper message of her journey. It wasn't just about one victory. It was about redefining power, about showing that the fight for truth and justice can't be silenced. The truth always has a way of coming to light, and when it does, the world changes. In the end, Karoline's story isn't just about a viral moment, it's about the bigger picture. It's about the power of standing tall in the face of adversity, of fighting for justice when everything seems stacked against you. And for all those watching, the reflection is clear. True power lies not in silence, but in speaking the truth, no matter the cost. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more epic stories of justice, power, and change. If you found this story as powerful as we did, don't forget to hit that like button. Share it with anyone who needs to hear this message. And for more stories that challenge the norm, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what's coming next.